Welcome to Dear Dad with Ivan and Brad. This is episode 1. And we are two dads who want to share with you the good, the bad, the sad, and the ugly, and the memorable. But we're not just a show for dads. In fact, we're a show for moms, future moms and dads, as well as sons and daughters. So thanks for tuning in today, and get ready for their show. Ivan, what do you got for us?
You know what the ironic part is about our title?
What's that?
So I came up with the name of the podcast, Dear Dad, right?
Right.
I've never called my dad before. Like, to his face, I've never been able to say, hey, Dad, what's up?
Wow.
Or, hey, Dad, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I could tell my brother, hey, where's Dad at?
Right.
You know? Or I can say, hey, Mom, what's up? You know? I can say those things.
Right.
But I've never been able to say, hey, Dad. So, like, whenever I need to say something to him, I just start talking and I kind of hope he hears me and catches on to what I'm saying.
Really?
Yeah. So when I, we were thinking about ideas to name the show, and that was one of my ideas.
Right.
I didn't even think about it till afterwards. I was like, that's very ironic that even came to my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's crazy.
So
you've never called him Dad?
Maybe once in my life where I was like, let me try it out. Mm-hmm. But it literally does not roll off my tongue.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know about to you, but there's certain things in my life that I put a lot of value to, a lot of meaning to.
Right.
And that's one of them. Like the term dad.
Okay.
It's because it's such a strong title. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can have that title. Not everybody deserves that title. Okay. Right?
Right.
So, like, when it comes to my kids, when I hear them say it, like, it brings joy to me. You know? Because I know what it's like to not be able to say it.
Wow, man.
So when I have somebody saying it to me, like, it affects me a certain type of way.
Right.
You know?
Oh, sure.
And that's also why, like, I'm so adamant about them maybe not calling their stepdad that.
Gotcha.
Because it's also a pride thing, right? Because it is such a huge title. Not everybody can have it. Mm-hmm. You know? But I just think that's how it should be. Like, why do you need to call the stepdad dad if your dad's in your life? Your dad's a good dad. Right. You know? So, yeah, that's what was ironic to me about our title, which I really like.
That is pretty ironic. Wow. What about, like, the word I love you? Like, those words. Like, do you ever tell your dad I love you? Or, like, love you, Dad? Or love you, Pops? Or
no.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever said that to him.
Gotcha.
But, you know, him and I have a very, very strange relationship. Okay. Like, I didn't meet my dad till I was 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
My biological father, my real dad.
Right.
So it's always been just my mother and I.
Okay.
Then we finally came up here because we were in California before. We came up here. That's when I met him for the first time. Oh. We came up here for like a week or two. I don't remember how long it was, right? We stayed with him. We did a few things. We like went to a baseball game, I think. Went to the lake or whatever. We hung out with him.
Gotcha.
And then we left, right, because it was just a little vacation. Mm-hmm. And next thing I knew, we came to live with him up here, right? But, you know, he's always had a lot of issues as far as, like, you know, addiction and just marital problems with my mother and stuff like that. Okay. So that, you know, that always made us bump heads.
Right.
Well, you know, as much as you can with a young kid. But
right. So you met him at 8.
Yeah.
When did you move in with him?
At 8.
Oh, you moved in with him at 8.
It was like
immediate.
I don't remember how long that time was.
Did he have his own house already?
When we first visited him?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. So for you guys watching, the person talking to me right now is my brother. He's our producer for now until he goes away to college in a few months. Congratulations, Johnny.
Yeah.
So when we came to visit him, is that when you're asking, or when we moved here?
Both.
So when we came to visit him, he was living with this older lady that he had been living with for a long time. She's like way older. And like they were just friends, but you know, we stayed with them. Like she's way older, like way older than him. And but when we came to live with him, we came to live in an apartment in Burien. So I don't know who set that up, if it was him, my mom, like financially speaking, because my dad's disabled
Oh, okay.
legally
Okay.
because he had been in an altercation
Gotcha.
one night and he got really messed up, like stabbed and
Oh, shoot. Okay. Wow.
beaten up and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So like he got really messed up. But yeah, so that's really why we came, I think, because my dad needed my mom.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken,
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's why we came. And maybe also my mom wanted to give
And then-
me a chance at a dad, right?
And so then you guys continued to live with him up through like 16, 17, 18 years old, and then until you moved
Yeah.
out and stuff?
Yeah, till I moved out.
Okay.
And now they're not together right now either.
Okay.
You know?
Right.
But they've always had issues,
Okay.
you know.
But she wanted him in your life.
She did.
Yeah.
She did, but, you know, it wasn't the right thing, in my opinion. But
What wasn't right about it?
all the issues we had, we had
gotcha.
so many issues.
Right.
You know, he like I said, he had his issues with addiction, and just their marital problems.
Right. Okay.
You know, that was always a big thing in our household. And then Johnny came along 10 years later, or not 10 years later. I'm sorry, 2 years later, because he was born when I was 10. I got 10 years on him.
Okay.
But like Johnny can call him dad.
Okay.
Johnny has a different relationship with him than I do because there's a lot of things that he didn't have to go through that I did,
Right.
Or that he didn't have to see that I did,
Right.
right?
Right.
But now with my father, we have kind of a relationship where, like, I know for a fact that if I ever were to call my dad and I needed him to do something for me, he will do it.
Okay.
Like, I know that.
Okay.
Johnny knows that. My mom knows that. You know, most of my family knows that, even though they might not get along.
Right.
They all know that. Like, my dad's just one of those guys, right? Which is really great to have in your life.
Definitely.
But, you know, we have a relationship where he just respects me as a man
Okay.
because he knows I'm a good father. He knows I'm not into anything crazy. You know, I don't
Right.
drink. I don't do drugs.
Right.
Like, I vape.
Yeah.
That's as bad as my vices
Right.
are, you know.
Sure.
So it's more of a respect thing that he has for me, and I can see it in his eyes when he talks to me,
Okay.
when he sees me, you know, because he knows that I'm doing what he should have done. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
But yeah, that's kind of the story with my dad and I.
Okay. And I think what's cool about that though is as fathers, sometimes we make mistakes. And as parents, we make mistakes. The fact that your dad was gone for 8 years but came back into your life says a lot about him. That he was willing to put his past behind him, wanted to be back in his son's life. And then at the same time, like you said, you can tell when he looks at you that he sees you as the man that maybe he wished he would have been, or maybe he at least is proud of you. Maybe he doesn't wish he was you per se, but he sees you in a way of like, man, you know, Ivan turned out good.
For sure. That's
And-
exactly what I think it is.
Right. And that's a cool feeling. I mean, I think the hardest part about being a dad sometimes is really realizing it's okay to make mistakes and then own up to them.
But there's certain mistakes that you should not be making.
Yeah, maybe.
That
like what kind
some
of mistakes?
some mistakes don't deserve a what's it called, a forgiveness,
chance, or
a second chance,
okay.
a forgiveness.
Okay.
Some just don't.
Okay.
Okay, there's some mistakes that don't, and you know
Like stepping on one of your toys. That's one of those mistakes that can be.
yeah, that can be forgiven.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Cool, okay.
But and as we go on with this show,
Yeah.
I'll open up more about my dad and our relationship and our past because there's a lot to it, right? Right now, I just kind of wanted to give you guys and you
Right.
a little sneak peek into it. But there's a lot that goes into it, and I don't mind talking about it.
That's cool.
You know, and I know that he's gonna watch it. I hope he watches this,
Right.
and that he sees all these things because I've never talked to him about it.
Okay. Wow. So that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if he watches this,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he's kind of like, "Hey man, I saw your first show." Is it gonna like prompt you to want to talk about it then more?
No.
Or are you gonna like? Are you hoping that he says something more?
No.
Or are you just gonna be like, "Hey,
There-
I'm glad you got to hear it, and I'm glad I got it off my chest."
Yeah. There's no conversation that needs to be had.
Right.
Because he's told me before that he's sorry and that he wishes he was different.
Right.
He's told me those things.
Right.
Right. I've never told him my side of anything though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is fine. He hasn't had to hear it yet
Right.
because I don't owe that to him.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
But I do hope he hears this and is at least able to understand where my mind is and why I am the father I am today, the man I am today,
Right.
because of the way I saw him growing up.
Mm-hmm. So those examples led you to live a different type of life. I mean, some people see the bad and go with the bad. Some people see the bad and go with the good. It drives them away. So some people are drawn to certain things, and some people are drawn away.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, my I've always, with my dad, always had the same basic relationship, as in called him dad from the get-go. You know, he was always in our life.
Did you ever call him daddy?
I probably did. Yep. Actually, my son, my 13, who's now 14-year-old son, it was like this transition, and he was always calling me daddy. And then my oldest son was always making fun of him, like, "Dude, why are you always calling him daddy?" And he's like, "Because he's my daddy."
At what age still?
He was like 13.
Still calling you daddy.
Still call me daddy.
So how'd that make you feel?
It made me feel good. I mean, I love hearing my son call me daddy, but he's been doing it for the longest time. Like, I've been hearing him say it since he was a baby or 1 or 2, whenever he could start talking. So,
But it gets a little awkward after a while, like especially I think boys. It's just not that it's right or wrong.
Right.
It just feels a little strange. It feels a little awkward.
yes, I would say it does depend on the age.
Right.
So, yeah,
at a
exactly.
certain point, just like
And so-
calling your mom mommy.
Right.
It-
Exactly.
Maybe some people do it till they're 40 years old. That's fine.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything right or wrong about it. It's just
Well, especially
it can
daughters.
be a little awkward.
Like my wife, she still calls her dad daddy. But I also know
That's a lot more normal.
that is a lot more normal,
Right.
especially for like country girls.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Definitely,
definitely noticed
yeah.
they're like, "Hey, daddy," you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
For sure.
but no, he's definitely at an age now where, I mean, he's starting to grow up, he's starting to change, and so I think he's transitioning into calling me dad, which is cool because now I got 2 teenage sons, and so them calling me dad is it's important, But I feel like
But why is it important to you?
because I want them to recognize me as the one who provides for them, the one who takes care of them. If they weren't calling me dad, it
So
would,
kind of like that pride thing, like I was saying earlier.
I think so. Yeah, I think maybe pride, but I think also it's just like I would question myself if I was having to say, why are my sons not calling me dad?
Right.
Like what is it that I'm doing that makes them not want to call me dad? So,
Right.
but yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. Probably just a pride thing, knowing that I'm providing for them, that they feel close enough to me and love me enough to want to call me dad, their protector, the one who takes care of them and stuff like that.
So your relationship with your dad now, as an adult, is it any different than it was when you were younger?
It's different from the standpoint of like we're more friends,
Right.
and we can obviously talk about things that I couldn't talk to him about when I was maybe as a teenager per se. I mean, we talk about politics, we talk about whatever it is, religion, talk about what some baseball or football player said or did or didn't do, whatever.
So how close are you guys?
We're super close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I call my dad. I call my mom and dad actually every single Monday. I try to call them in the morning to say, hey. I always call my mom's phone. They put it on speakerphone. My dad's always there. I just chat with them for a little bit to see how they're doing for Monday morning.
Why do you think you and your dad are so close? Because you hear all these stories about why people aren't close with their parents, father or mother, regardless.
Right.
Why were you and why are you so close to your father still?
I think the amount of affection he showed us. I mean, he showed us quite a bit of affection. I mean, there wasn't a time when, like when I was a little kid, he was always giving us hugs and kisses and biting on our toes and tickling us and doing goofy stuff like that. And then as we got older, we would wrestle, we would play basketball against each other. He'd go out there and throw the football around with us or baseball and participate in the sports with us and build those memories.
Dude, sports are so important, man. For not only are they important for kids because it gives them something to do and to stay active and all these things,
Right.
but it also gives you the ability to create that bond where you're able to teach your kids something.
Exactly.
And then you get to watch them evolve in that sport, get better, be good at it.
Right.
Maybe they're not good at it. You can see that too, and then you can maybe do a different sport. Right. Like with my kids, they both play soccer. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I have seen that. A lot of it.
So, like, they've both been playing soccer since they were like 2 or 3 years old.
Okay.
And they're both pretty good. Like, my daughter's just a savage. My daughter's my daughter is just a savage. Okay. I don't
Like knocking people over type savage, or like
yes,
dribbling it past them with her feet and stuff like that. And
just a little bit of both.
Okay.
Like
Gotcha.
she's always been able to control the ball for some reason. She's just natural at that.
Yeah, that's
Right.
awesome.
But she's also savage in the term where like she's really tough.
Right.
Right. But there's nothing that brings more joy to me than watching them be good at it. Right. Because it's one thing for me to go these Saturdays to the games.
Right. Cheer them on and
To cheer them on and having them play on the dirt with the flowers and stuff like that.
Right.
Which is unfortunately what some parents have to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see it. Right. And then it's another thing for me to go on Saturdays and watch my kids actually like kicking some butt.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So sports, man, that's such a big deal.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with you. And
But what else was your dad doing other than sports?
just being there for us. I mean, honestly, I mean, he was a teacher. He was a great English teacher, and he would help us all the time with English, with whatever. My mom was always participating as well, helping us with our math. So my parents were both there, and that was important for us. So knowing, Bill, especially now, looking back as an adult, knowing that both of them were there, but my dad played a huge part in my life on how to become a man. Like one of the first times when I took a girl out, my dad, he goes, Brad, you got to get her a gift. I said, okay, what should I get her? And so he's like, well, what do you think you should get her? So I was like, I'm going to get her a teddy bear. So I get her a teddy bear. He goes, well, how about you pick out this one where you can put your picture in it? I go, oh, okay, that sounds good. He goes, now you need to get a necklace.
What age was this?
I was like 13 years old, 14 years old.
Okay.
I was in junior high. So we get a necklace, put it around the bear, and he lets me go to this pizza place with her, and like we did this double date, with a couple other junior hires. And he comes by and picks me back up, but he wanted me to give her the gift in the car, and I didn't know anything about this. I'm just thinking like, here's your gift, happy birthday.
Right.
But or maybe it was Christmas, I can't remember now. But anyways, the fact is that he told me like, hey, have her sit in the car and then you give her the gift, give her the gift, like sit down next to her. And, and he was wanting me to share a moment with her. And he was kind of introducing me into, this is what a man does for a woman. Like, you open the car door, you have her sit down, you get up next to her, you give her gift, you make it a special moment. And he understood that. So he kind of taught me how to kind of date, per se, girls. And so I remember that specifically, and that's a huge moment. But I mean, my gosh, there were times when, especially like when we go back to sports, just feeling defeated, and I'd be walking off the pitcher's mound and my head be hanging down, and he'd come up there and be like, buddy, you're gonna get him next time, don't worry about it, like, we'll work on that, we'll make sure you can do this or do that. And I would, he would sit there, and my dad was like very precision when it came to, this is how you pitch, this is how you throw the ball, this is how you catch, this is what you need to do. And
by that, do you mean he was tough on you? Is that what you mean by that?
I think he was tough, but he was also repetitive. So he did it a lot. He didn't just say like, hey, go out there with your brother, throw the ball around, throw some grounders, learn how to, field grounders. He would go out there and show us, like, hey, I'm going to throw this grounder at you. And our ground wasn't smooth. It wasn't like you were just going to roll real easy.
Right.
It's bouncing. Then, slowly but surely, he'd move it going from 20 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour to 40 miles. And he's just, after a while, he's chucking that ball at us. And like I'm like, oh, shoot. But he was building a discipline in us to get better. And I remember those moments, playing sports and, being hugged by my dad and all those kind of things. Whether it's, being a kid or being an adult, he's always been there to give me some good advice and to tell me he loves me. And that, on a side note, that's huge too, that my dad told me he loved me, because I had a group of buddies one time. We were all sitting around, and they were talking about how they never said I love you to their dad. And I was like, you guys never say I love you? They're like, not really. They're like, why, do you? I said, yeah, like almost every single time I get off the phone with my dad, I'm like, hey, Dad, love you. I'll talk to you later. He's like, love you, buddy. And
it's not awkward at all.
It's not awkward at all.
Right. Okay.
And so that was the thing, is I started realizing like maybe my relationship with my dad isn't the norm, or it wasn't per se with this group of friends. Their dads had different lives with them and responded and showed them affection differently. So they didn't say I love you a whole lot. And
That's
I realized,
important.
It's real important.
I don't think I go like 10 minutes, 20 minutes without telling my kids I love them.
Right.
Even if it's like to mess with them.
Right.
Like to bother them if they're watching TV or something.
Yeah.
Like I'll just grab them and tell them I love them.
Right.
Just to do it. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, when going back to the sports thing, and I think this episode's probably just gonna be about sports and kids.
Right.
Okay. I think I'm the same way that your dad was, and I think I play such a big part in the sports thing with my kids. I don't know if that makes sense the way I said that, but whatever.
Yeah.
Is because I enjoy sports. I love sports. I like playing sports. I like, even though it doesn't look like it, but I do. You've seen me be athletic.
Yes.
Right. But and I hope my kids develop those love for the sports.
Right.
Which they haven't yet. Like my son and daughter won't sit down and watch a football game with me or a basketball game with me.
Yeah.
But they do enjoy playing them.
Right.
Right. But like, I just hope that one day they'll be able to say, hey, my dad was there. My dad actually taught us stuff. You know, our dad.
And they will.
Had the patience with us.
Right.
Even though I'm not very patient. I'm so impatient.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And I think they understand that all I want is for them to be good. And I let their mom kind of be the one, the participation trophy person, because she is that, which really surprised me seeing that as my kids are growing, because, you know, my ex-wife, she's very competitive and she's always played sports. I think most of her life.
Okay.
Even now, I think she does like a softball league, right,
Okay.
for adults. And I remember when we were together, she would enjoy watching sports and playing sports too. So I didn't see this part coming where she'd be that participation trophy person.
Oh, okay.
But maybe it's because they're still so young and she doesn't
Right.
want to freak them out, right?
Right.
But I think that we should be teaching them at a very young age that,
Right.
hey, if you want to be good at something, you have to practice it.
Exactly. Because life is not going to hand them a participation trophy. Like when they go for that interview at 18, at 28, at 38, whatever it is, they're not going to get the job along with the other 5 people who went for the interview. It's one person. One person wins, the other 4 lose.
Even before that, like these kids nowadays are playing select teams, select
Right.
soccer, what is it called? AAU, whatever,
Yeah.
basketball.
Right.
Like, you got to try out for these things. So you have a 10-year-old that has to go try out. Like, they're already going to get a taste of, you're not good enough for this team, dude.
Right.
And that sucks, you know? So I've always been to the point with my kids where, you know, something that's big in our conversations is Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
Since before he died, R.I.P. to the
Yep.
greatest of all time. But since before he
Jordan.
even died,
Yep, good.
I've always talked to them about him.
Okay.
You know, about that Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
Right? And like, my daughter just has that. She's, like I said, she's a savage.
That's cool.
You know, my son is not that savage, but I feel like he can be in bursts, right? But that's beside the point. Like, have you heard the "I Am a Champion" speech before?
I don't know if I have.
Johnny, go to YouTube, pull it up real quick. Search "I Am a Champion" speech. Go to lyrics and then put lyrics so we can just see the lyrics. Third one down. Nope. That one. So this speech, dude, since my kids.
Oh, is this a speech? Did you send this to me?
No, I have not sent this to you.
Okay.
But since my kids were very, very little, since they started playing soccer, basically, I've always played this for them in the car on our way to games.
Oh, smart man.
It's a crazy speech. Go to like halfway, Johnny. Right there.
I will never leave anything but the very best on the field with my teammates. And under no circumstances will I ever surrender. Who am I? I'm a champion. Readily will I display the discipline and strength required to fight forward to my objective and complete that objective. I will rise when I have fallen. I will rip the heart from my opponent and leave it beating on the ground because he cannot stop me. Who am I?
All right, stop it. So, do my kids need to hear this at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old? No, maybe not, right? But I feel like that's what sets my kids apart from other kids that are sitting on the floor in the middle of the game playing with the flowers.
Right.
The fact that they've heard stuff like this.
Right.
Where they're in the car, I am a champion, listening to the video saying, I am a champion.
Yeah.
I am a champion. You know what I'm saying? So that's to the extent that I go with my kids, where I instill in them that, hey, we're not really just here to have fun, guys. Like, I want you guys to find something you're great at. Maybe it's not soccer for my son. Maybe it's not soccer for my daughter. Maybe it is for both. Maybe it's basketball for my son. Who knows, right?
Right.
But if we're gonna take the time to do these things, let's not only have fun. Like, let's be great at it.
Right.
And, kids play sports in school and stuff. I don't want my son or my daughter being scrubs, because I don't want them to.
Yeah.
It's just, I try to prepare them as much as I can.
Sure.
Course,
Sure.
But that's kind of my thing with sports.
I remember hearing a financial guy, which, a ton of people have heard his name, but his name's, Dave Ramsey. And Dave Ramsey basically said he remembers sitting in the back of his dad's car, and his mom and dad would be driving, and he'd be back there like with, I don't know if he had siblings or not, but they're all back there, and his dad's playing these like, Zig Ziglar and just all these different type of, like guys who are motivational speakers, sales gurus. And he said he didn't really like listening to it a whole lot, but he now knows the importance of hearing all those things and why his dad would listen to him, and he's in the vehicle listening to them also. Not that he necessarily wanted to hear them, but it paid off because it changed the way he thought. And I think I noticed that the more I read, and I love to read books, but the more I read, I realize my vocabulary actually changes to the people I'm reading about, the authors. And the more that they're all saying the exact same thing, and the more times I hear it and read it, then it starts coming out of my mouth, and I realize it. Like, all of a sudden, I'm quoting this person, and I'm quoting that person, and all because I listened to this stuff, or I read this stuff. And I have my boys do the same thing. I mean, to me, it's huge to have them listen to people who have made it in life and can give us direction. And sometimes our voices get drowned out as parents because they've heard it so many times. They've heard us tell them to brush their teeth, put their shoes away, put their clothes on. Did they do their homework? Come to the dinner table. They hear all these commands, all these different things that sometimes it's nice for them to hear it from someone else, whether it's the TED Talk that we put on, or the podcast that we have them listen to, or some motivational, video, or whatever, a song. I mean, sometimes different people like you and me, I'm sure you and I can probably go back to somewhere in our history to a teacher, a coach that said something that changed us, or at least made us feel like they understood us and we connected with them. And so to me, I feel like it's important that our kids have those connections, whether it's on a radio station or on a CD or in a book or on a video or in real life, like their soccer coach for your kids or something like that. That soccer coach might be able to get them to do a certain kick or a certain move that you've been working on them with for like 6 months. And he comes and he says one thing just a little bit differently, or because you said it so many times and he finally said it that one last time, it was just enough to push them over the edge to get them to finally do it. And so I think sometimes
That'd be so heartbreaking.
it's
As far as
gonna
pride
happen.
goes,
Yeah,
that'd
yeah.
be so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know.
But it'll happen because there's just my dad has just been an avid I don't even know what the word is for it, but he's always just been there to back us up and always push us. But sometimes it took someone else's voice for me to hear because I just didn't want to hear it. Like literally, if you go back to my freshman year in football, my dad was the coach. I take that back. It was sophomore year. I ran more than anybody else on the team because I would like backtalk my dad because I was so tired of hearing him say stuff to me. And it's like I'd finally get on the field and he'd say something to me and I'd be like, I know. And he'd be like, Rain, hit the track, start running. And I mean, I just ran more than anybody else because I was defiant. But at the same time, my dad was just wanting to be there for me and teach me the right thing. And at some point, especially when you start going through puberty and you start changing as a kid, you're trying to figure yourself out as an adult and where your place is with your parent. So sometimes you are going to back talk or say things that maybe you shouldn't. And, there were those times when I did and I realized I shouldn't have. And there's times that, maybe it was warranted, because we're always growing as people.
Did you try to get your kids involved in martial arts?
Yeah, my oldest one did it for about 2.5 years.
What did he do?
He did taekwondo.
And did he like it?
He looked more like a ballerina. Like I remember trying to, because I was in the class with him doing all the moves and doing martial arts and like we'd be doing a kick or we'd doing some kind of form, and I'm looking over at this kid and he's just doing a kick and his feet are going this way and he's doing a spin and I'm trying to concentrate and I'm like, Ethan, get back in line and and then the sensei, our teacher was pretty forgiving and stuff like that, so he'd be like, Ethan, get back over in line and let's do this. And I remember going home at night and I'm like, Ethan, you gotta listen, like when we're all standing straight in line, you gotta stay in line. Mm-hmm. And when they say do this kick or do this punch or whatever it might be, that's what you gotta do. Like you're doing your own thing, just kind of going up and down, the room, just doing your own thing. And it would drive me nuts. But after a while, I just realized like he wasn't into it as much as I was. And so he kind of drifted off and we didn't make him go anymore. So.
Martial arts is such a big deal, man. Mm-hmm. I think that if I have any advice to parents that want to put their kids into martial arts, I think that Taekwondo is the way to go.
Yeah, it's
Taekwondo
good.
teaches so much discipline, so many fundamentals of striking. And, I started with Taekwondo when I was a kid, I think like 5th, 6th grade or something like that. And that got me prepared kind of for some kickboxing, some Muay Thai, regular boxing. And, because even though I've always been a heavier kid, a heavier guy, I've always been quick. I've always been fast. And I think that came from starting with Taekwondo.
Okay.
Because it taught me a lot about that stuff.
Right.
Because maybe when I was young, I didn't learn all those techniques, but I got some little things from it. And I think my speed, my quickness is something I picked up.
Okay.
So I think that parents that want to put their kids into martial arts should either do that, go the Taekwondo route instead of karate or kung fu or whatever. Either that or straight into a MMA gym.
Gotcha. Okay.
I've seen kids 5, 6, 7 years old in MMA gyms just picking stuff up. Like they're just sponges,
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that you're into martial arts.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you think you started your kids into that at a younger age?
That's a great question. I really don't even know. I think I asked them if they wanted to do it, and they just would tell me no. And so I just was like, okay,
You've never been one to force things onto your kids?
Nope. I just never did because the thing was, is like,
But what if that's something they could be great at?
yeah, well,
And you don't make them at least try.
Right.
I'm not saying you have to force them to stay into it.
right.
Like, if they don't like it, they don't like it.
Sure.
But, like, what's wrong with saying, hey, go put on some gloves. We're going to try something today.
Right. Well, and that was kind of the purpose behind me getting my oldest involved eventually. I mean, I think he was like 6 or 7 when we had him involved in it. And then by the time he was 8, I think we basically pulled him out because we realized he just wasn't into it anymore. But no, I would definitely agree with you. I think if you look at a lot of martial artists today who are good, whether it's kung fu or, jiu-jitsu or whatever, a lot of them had a base of taekwondo, and it
Say
taught
that again.
them taekwondo.
Okay.
You can say it taekwondo or taekwondo.
You can say it however you want.
Right.
It just sounded funny when you said it just now.
'Cause I talk
And that's
funny.
probably the right way to say it.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But anyways, I just know that, you learn very basic things like the kicking and the punching. But the thing is when you look at, like, especially taekwondo people in the Olympics, or you watch them do those flips and jumps, after they've been doing it for 10, 20 years, those guys are good. I mean, it's one of the hardest martial artists, or one of the hardest martial arts, because once you become advanced at it, it's extremely advanced. The kicks are so difficult, the split, kicks and all these different things you do. But yeah, I mean, it's a neat sport, and I think it starts off kind of like, I always call it staccato. It's like very like, and you're doing these punches and the kicks, and they look very awkward and feel awkward and probably even sound awkward. But once you become good at it, you become very fluent. And
Well, even those punches you're talking about, like when I say that they teach you the fundamentals, like when you throw a punch in a boxing ring,
right,
your arms should be like this, straight, right?
Sure,
With the top of your hand facing up.
Right.
And that's what you learn in Taekwondo,
right,
right?
yeah.
But like
But
that's what I'm saying.
But
Like
kung fu teaches a punch with the bottom 3 knuckles.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Taekwondo is better. It teaches the right fundamentals, man.
Yeah.
And yeah. You know what? I think that for our first episode, man, I think this is a good start.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we talked a little bit about ourselves,
Our dads,
our
yep,
kids.
Yep.
Sports.
Sports and then the importance of that, some martial arts.
And as we get going with this, we're gonna be doing once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Every single Wednesday they're gonna be dropping.
Yep.
I'm sorry, not Wednesdays. Every Tuesday.
Hey,
They're
I was
gonna be
giving you the benefit of the doubt, but yeah, you're right.
Tuesdays they'll be dropping.
Yep.
1:00 Pacific time.
Woo, man, that is specific on Pacific time.
Yeah, sure. So what we want to do at the end of every episode, especially maybe not today, wasn't so dark, but maybe sometimes I think we'll get into some pretty touchy subjects, dark subjects, sad subjects.
Right.
But I want us to end the episode on a happy note.
Okay, let's do it.
On a laughing note. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the dad joke of the week.
Ooh,
We're gonna have our producer Johnny over here show us one dad joke.
Okay.
You're gonna read it, Brad.
Oh,
I'm gonna laugh
should
my
be
butt
good.
off. Hopefully.
Johnny, which one am I reading? 1, 2, or 3?
2.
2. Okay, let's do this.
I haven't seen this.
No, you have not.
This is my genuine reaction. Let's hear it.
Oh, no, I have read him 2. 2 was the one I read him earlier.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I didn't read him 2. I didn't
Give
read
me
2.
one before the
Ready?
camera
Here we
shuts
go.
off.
No, I read the first one. Second one, ready? This COVID pandemic has really been taking its toll on my mental health and relationship with my wife. We haven't made love in over 6 years.
What?
Okay, we apologize. Sometimes,
oh my God.
sometimes they're going to be a little bit more corny than others.
No, that one.
That one was pretty goofy.
That one snuck up on me. Like it was really dumb up until like the last 2 words.
Yeah, the last 2 words. That's what.
Okay, that was really dumb. Johnny,
Yep.
please come up with some better ones. Go ahead, Brad.
Sure,
Take
yeah,
it
definitely.
away.
Hey guys, so you know what to do because I'm sure you've seen a lot of these. But if you like this show and you enjoyed it, then definitely like it, subscribe it, and share it with all your friends. And tune in next time for Dear Dad with Ivan and Brad.
What do you think that last one, Brad?
Oh, my legs are asleep.
I would love to engage in more thoughtful conversation with my reflection.
Johnny, dad jokes cannot be this long.
But he always repeats what I say right as I say it. I just wish he would be more considerate of what I have to say instead of constantly reminding me of my fat face.